Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm glad you're here. So for today, I'm gonna be taking you guys on how I created this beautiful makeup using quite affordable products. So this is my model. This is her bare face before we got into the glam. So let's get right into it. First of all, I always like to clean my model's face. This cannot be overemphasized on. You have to always make sure your canvas is clean. The canvas in this sense is your model or your client's skin. So I was making a point of duty to clean my model or my client's face with my micellar water. Then I go in with my fan to dry it down before I go in with any other product. So next I'm using this hydrating T3 spray from Blossom Cosmetics. It is a Nigerian brand that is doing so good right now, and you just have to applaud them. So after spraying my hydrating spray, I'm just going to work it in with my hands, more like massaging it in to make sure it's evenly absorbed by the skin. Next I'll go in with this serum. It's a Korean serum. It's written premium on the body. This is a very hydrating serum and it really helps to get the work done. It helps to add more moisture to the face and before you apply your moisturizer. So for me, whenever I'm doing my skin prep, I like to work with my hands after applying. This helps me achieve that full should I say absorption that I want, and I like to make sure that the skin is taking it in while I'm applying it. So I have to use my fan again to dry it into the skin before I move on to the next step of my skin prep. So next I'm using this serum from Blossom Makeup. It's a hydrating serum as well. I like to do a very hydrating base because we all know that most powders are mattifying. So by the time you start applying your powders, you discover that the whole hydrating base that you've done and then the foundation and everything will just turn out to become soft matte or semi matte finish. So it's very crucial that you are careful with the skin prep you do, and the skin prep that you do will determine the outcome of your overall look. Okay, so when you do, if you want to achieve a soft matte finish, I always advise that you do a very hydrated base and then you can use a soft matte foundation and top it up with a soft matte powder like Fenty, or a good powder palette like Huda Beauty, or a single powder like Melanin, or any other powder that you feel has a soft matte or a matte finish. Now when you do a hydrated base and then you top it up with a matte or soft matte finish, it gives a soft matte finish. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. But back to my skin prep. So I'm applying my moisturizer. Now this is my primer. This primer is from, I think, Kevin Aucoin, or yeah, I think so. It is a hydrating primer. If you noticed, I've not applied anything mattifying yet. I've just been applying only my hydrating base, because the idea for this shoot is to achieve a soft matte finish. And like I said, you have to always balance your applications. If you want to achieve a matte finish, then you can do the sandwich method, which is you apply one hydrating product, you top it up with a mattifying product, and that. But if you want to achieve a more skin-like finish that you look radiant, then I advise you take this step. Now for my foundation, I'm using the Heravin Gold Foundation. This is a soft matte foundation and it's lightweight and medium to full coverage. So the coverage is buildable. So I have to apply with my tiny brush. This helps me control the coverage I want. And when you apply with a brush and then blend in with a brush, it gives fuller coverage, and then you tend to use lesser product than when you apply with a beauty blender, because beauty blenders take up some part of the product even though you don't notice, but it does that. So if you want fuller coverage, it's advised to use foundation brushes first to blend in your cream product before going in with your beauty blender to just blend everything together. Okay, so I'm doing the same thing for the other side of the face. Now this brush is from Huda Beauty and I love this brush so much. This is one of my favorite foundation brushes at the moment. It gets the work done effortlessly. Now as you can see, because I did a hydrating base, see how my foundation is gliding smoothly. I don't have to struggle to blend. So this foundation, like I said, is soft matte. So doing a hydrated base just complements the foundation. And when I'm going to apply my concealer and cream blush and everything will just be so easy to blend, and it won't stress me because the base is already very accepting to the product. For my cream blush, I'm going to be using the Cuff Case by Mitchelle. I took a little of the lighter shade of pink and the dark shade of pink and I mixed it up. Then I'm using this cream brush. I can't remember where I got this brush, but it's for foundation and cream products. I'm just applying it directly on the face. Like, I'll use the brush to I already spread the product at the back of my palm to easy application. So I'm just taking the brush to pick up the product there, then apply it on the cheek. For my contour, I'm using the Juvia's Place foundation stick. I'm using a small brush to just apply it around her forehead, beneath her cheekbones, and on her brow bones and the bridge of her nose. I'm using the same brush I used to apply my blush to blend this into the apple of her cheek, just to make sure that there are no harsh lines. Okay, now this is why you need a good foundation brush that can serve you. Now this brush serves for foundation, blush, cream, anything cream products, contour, bronzer, anything cream product, and it blends in seamlessly. It's so easy to use. If you can't, I can't remember where I got this, but you can get the one from Nia, and you can get more than one, so you can use them for different purposes. So now for my concealer, I like to do a thin layer of concealer first for the under eyes. It is more like a color corrector. I like to use my concealer, a warm shade of concealer, to correct under the eyes before I apply the lighter shade of concealer that I'm going to use for highlighting. Okay, so I just took a little of my Born This Way concealer, I think in mahogany also, I've forgotten, before I went in with my Kevin Aucoin concealer to highlight the under eyes, the bridge of the nose, the jaw, forehead, and everywhere that I'm meant to highlight. Now I'm going to go in with my beauty blender to blend in the concealer that I applied. So I always start from either my forehead or the jawline before I go to under the eyes. Under the eyes are always the last point for me because I give it time to marinate, to dry down a little, so the coverage is fuller before I go in to blend. Okay, so I'm just going to go in with my beauty blender and blend in the concealer, starting from the outer corner before working my way into the inner corners of the eye. So after that is done, I'm going to go in with my setting powder. Setting powder I'm using is Huda Beauty in Kunafa. This is the first setting powder I'm going to use before going in with my Laura Mercier in translucent honey. I don't like to use very bright setting powders because I want to achieve a more skin-like finish, and I believe that using a setting powder that is not so bright will help you achieve that better. I don't like my under eyes being extremely bright, so I always go for a setting powder that is just 2 shades lighter than my clients or my models undertone or shade rather. So what I always do is, before I set my under eyes, I always make sure to go in with a concealer brush with a little concealer on it to blend in the under eyes again while my client or my model is looking upright. This will aid me to achieve a more seamless under eye and reduce the creasing in that area. So I'm just going to apply this using my triangle puff, and then make sure that it is evenly distributed, and I'll apply it to every other place. Now I'm going in with my Laura Mercier setting powder in translucent honey. I like to diffuse my product when I take them, so once I take the powder, I'm just going to brush on my hands, and then apply the residue on the areas I want to highlight. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just making sure to spread it properly. Don't forget to apply on your brow area because that's what you're going to use to mattify the brows. I'm just applying that around the nose, at the top of the lips, then the under eye again. At first I used the Huda Beauty, but now I'm using Laura Mercier, and Laura Mercier is brighter than my Huda Beauty because Huda Beauty is in Kunafa. So I'm just going to make sure that I am done with this before I go in with my pressed powder to set the whole face. For my pressed powder, I'll be using this powder palette from Mitchelle Ageless. Funny how I didn't used to be a lover of powder palettes, but over time I just came around. I don't know what happened, but I just fell in love with powder palettes. If you get a good powder palette, it can serve. So I'm using this powder palette from Mitchelle Ageless, and it gets the job done for me actually. Always remember to apply product on your face and your neck as you're applying so that everywhere will blend together. So next, I'm going to go in with my setting spray to set the whole face together and make sure that everything comes together. I'm using my morphe spray for this. For my bronzer, I'm using the bronzy palette from glam Cosmetics. This is a bronzer palette that consists of 6 amazing, beautiful shades of powder, pressed powder. It's very good for bronzing, and it gives me what I want. So I always use a small powder brush for this. That's when I want to bronze the forehead area and my cheekbone. When I want to do the one for the bridge of my nose, I just use a very precise brush, a more precise powder brush for that. So this brush I'm using is from Blossom Cosmetics. Then for the bridge of my nose, I prefer to use this brush from MK Beauty. Their brush set is very beautiful. It's amazing. I don't like to make my nose contour very dark, so whenever I want to do my nose contour, I go in for a lighter shade compared to the one I use for the forehead area. Okay, so I'm just going to work my way in until I get that warmth I want around the nose, the bridge of the nose. Then for my reverse contour, I'm using the same setting powder I used to set first. That is my Huda Beauty in Kunafa. Just going to create an illusion of a perfectly contoured face. Then for my eyeshadow, I'm using my Morphe eyeshadow. I'm going in for a cut crease look. So first I had to use a brown eyeshadow to create the shadow, that's the crease area, before I cut it with my eyeshadow primer. So just enjoy this process. I'll come back to explain how I did the cut crease. Cut crease, I went in with my eyeshadow primer. This is the Benign Clone White eyeshadow primer. If you're a makeup person, you would know this eyeshadow primer because it's an OG. It's been here since time immemorial. So you have to be very careful when you're doing this, because any little mistake you make and the whole eyeshadow look is ruined. Okay, so whenever I'm doing this, I don't even breathe. I just hold my breath and then try to get it right before I do anything else. So this is one of my least favorite eyeshadow looks. I don't like doing cut crease at all because it stresses me mentally a lot. If I'm doing this, I'm always thinking, are they equal? Is one higher than one? Is something wrong this side? Something wrong on the other side? It's really stressful, so I'm not really a fan. So after cutting my crease, I use my the brush I used to apply it to blend in the eyeshadow base rather, to make sure that it is smooth before I apply my eyeshadow. Now this is important because if you don't blend it in properly, you'll be having patchy eyeshadow look. So it's important that when you apply your eyeshadow base, you go in with a blending brush to blend the base. So this is me filling up my crease, the area I cut. This is me filling it up with eyeshadow. So after applying on the lid, you have to go in with a more precise brush on the crease area. That is where you did the cut crease. Yeah, this is to cover or close all those harsh lines there. It is very important because if you don't do this, your eyeshadow might start looking tacky, and we don't want that. Okay, so just enjoy the video and I'll come back for the eyebrow area. For my eyebrow, the day I did this shoot, I was really furious because I lost my favorite eyebrow brush. God, I almost cried. I think I was crying in my mind. I didn't want to cry out so they don't laugh at me, but it was sad for me. You know when you have that favorite brush that gets it done. You can have like 1 million brushes, but that particular brush is the only brush that gets it done. Well, that day was one of those days when my favorite brush got missing. so I had to improvise and just use pencil instead. I don't like using pencil, it stresses me, but sometimes I use them. But it's more like a last option when I don't have anything else to do. So yeah, I had to use pencil to outline my brow before going in with my my brow gel. I usually use the Hegai and Esther brow gel because it's like my favorite brow gel for years. I've been using this Hegai and Esther brow gel for more than 5 years now, and that never failed me. So I had to improvise with another brush. Since I couldn't get my favorite brush, I had to use another brush, which is my least favorite brush, to do this. So this brush I'm using is from MK Beauty. Okay, no, it is my second favorite brush. So after outlining with the brush and the brow gel, I had to use my pencil again to just fill in and just make sure that the brows are okay. Now to conceal my brows, I always like using a cream concealer to conceal my brows. Those are the likes of Kevin Aucoin. So I mixed my Kevin Aucoin with my Too Faced concealer and use it to conceal my brows. Don't worry, I'll do a more precise, a more detailed brow tutorial for you guys. The main thing in this look is the skin prep and the overall finish. I'll do a more detailed tutorial on eyebrows. So after concealing my brows, I like to blend it in and then go in with a setting powder to absorb all the oil from the concealer. So after that, I like to go in with the bronzer palette I used. I like to use this to bring back some warmth to the face, especially under the contoured areas and beneath the brow bone. This to cancel any form of whiteness or what should I say, concealer. You know, when you apply your concealer, it brightens up the area. So this technique is just to cancel any form of brightness that is there. Next, for my lashes, I usually apply my mascara first. Then I go in with my glue to apply it on the lid, and then I allow it to sit. These lashes I'm using is from Von Beauties. They're on Instagram. Their lashes are amazing. One of the best lashes I've used so far. So this technique is a technique I picked up recently. It really helped me because I've been having issues with my lashes not sticking for long. So I took up this technique, and that's really been helpful and working for me. So I always apply my glue to the lid first before sticking on my lashes, and I always make sure to apply some glue on my lashes as well. Then allow it to dry for some minutes and then stick it on the lid, just directly on top of the lashes. The model was tearing so bad that I had to remove the lashes and we just had to work with one eye for now until her eyes settled, and then we had to stick back the lashes on later on. If you notice here, you see that we are using just one eye with lashes and the other eyes without lashes because she was tearing, and you know water and glue does not really go well, so one of the lashes was soaking wet, so it was not sticking. So for my lips, I like to go in with the brown shade on my Eye Magic lip palette. I like to use it to outline the lips, then maybe go in with the nude in it, and then blend it together before going in with any other lip stain I want. This is just to get a more blended lip look. So I asked my model to smack her lips, that way it can blend easily. Then I went in with my brush to just blend in the outer corners of the lips. So after that, I'm just going to apply my gloss. I think the gloss I used was from Avon Cosmetics. They have a very beautiful gloss, which is like a dupe for the Fenty gloss. It is very, very pigmented. So I just use my brush to apply it, and as I'm applying them, I'm also blending. It's more like a two-way thing. Blending and applying, it makes the work easier for you instead of applying and then struggling to blend later. Another thing I love to do is to clean up my under of my lips. Every time I do my lip look, I just make sure I go in with a shade of concealer that is close to my client's shade to clean up the lip area that's under the lip and around the lip, just to make sure that the lips appear more plumpier and well defined. I'm going in with my Fenty Beauty powder in 345 shade 345. Yeah, this powder, Fenty Beauty powder, is one of my favorite powders. I don't know, but the formula they use in producing this powder is just too nice. It gives a soft matte finish and also helps you achieve that skin-like finish that you want. So I always like to go in with a big powder brush first to just brush off everything and blend them together before going in with a smaller powder brush. This will aid me to get into those areas that my bigger brush cannot get to. Yeah, this is my small powder brush now. It helped me get into those areas where my big brush cannot get to, and also to help me blend in those tiny lines that I couldn't reach with the bigger powder brush. Now for my post setting, so I'm using this powder from Charlotte Bray in shade 2, rather shade 2. Okay, I like this powder because it is lightweight and it's very good for finishing. Then for my blush, this blush, I don't even know where I bought it from, but I have this blush that I use, and I like to use my powder puff to do this at the end of the day. This gives a more filtered look. It makes it look like, how do I put it? It makes the blush look very feathery, yeah, if there's a word. Then for my highlights, I always use my Fenty highlighter. Ever since I got this highlighter, I don't know, I've not been able to use another highlighter because it just gets the job done for me. And then I like to go in with a tiny brush to do the one of my nose. Just take a little and then apply it on the bridge of your nose. Then you can use your hand to diffuse it if you want to. So that is done. That is done. Next, I'm going to set the whole face using my setting spray, and then the setting spray to take away the powdery look. Now after this, you can go in with your sealing spray, but I didn't want a very matte finish like I said earlier, so after I used the setting spray, I just found it dry. So if you enjoyed this tutorial, please don't forget to like, comment, share this post, and most especially subscribe to our YouTube channel and turn on post notification, so whenever we post beautiful and wonderful tutorials like this, you'll always be the first to get notified. Thank you for watching, and see you in my next video. Bye.